it's Charlotte from Azulfit, and today I'd like to take a look at downward facing dog. Downward facing dog is a pose, of course, in and of its own right, but it's one that shows up time and time again in your vinyasas and particularly in the sun salutation. And it's one that causes a lot of confusion for people. So let's take a look at it. Take a look at what we're asking the body to do in this pose, and we see if we can't encourage a little bit more of that freedom in the pose that we're looking for. So let's come to the mat. The key thing here is really experimentation. Okay, so we know it's 4 points of contact with the floor. Okay, but what we do with those 4 points is entirely up to us. I really want you to focus on the spine. Okay, so that's hips actually all the way through the neck into the crown of the head. And that means that just for the minute, we can take the legs out of it. So keep the legs nice and soft. And bring your focus to your hands, spreading open through the fingertips, pressing the ground down and forward. Okay, that activates all of the muscles of the arms and the armpits. The head and neck is free. The spine is nice and long, the hips are high, we can wiggle them just to check. And then if we think about the legs, I really want you to encourage a sense of softness through the knees. There is a direction, let's say an energetic direction of the heels down towards the floor, but I'm really not worried about getting the heels down there, because what I do if I force that is overemphasize the back of the legs and the hamstrings. And if they have any tendency, is to be a little bit tight. Okay, so really think of this not as a fixed, rigid position, not as that kind of really angular pyramid that you often see in the pictures. Think of it as something that's got to feel good and to reflect the proportions of your body. And ways that we can play with that are by looking at the hand position, perhaps turning the hands out, externally rotating the shoulders, finding a little bit more space between the shoulders. If you're quite hunched over, you might find that quite freeing. You can walk the feet forward, soften the knees even more, really emphasize the length in the spine, or walk the feet back, taking a little bit more weight into the legs. Really, what we have to do, as I said, is just explore and play and see what feels good for us. And every day that's going to feel different. And ultimately what we're working towards is finding your version of the pose, because at the end of the day, that's the only one that actually matters. So spend some time with the pose. Don't be afraid to explore and experiment and have a little bit of fun. So thank you very much for joining me. See you again soon. Namaste.